The
No
words
official
moved through the
statement
palace before the
confirmed
sun
those
had
words.
fully
Still
risen,
hasn't opened them,
and by
or
breakfast,
maybe he
they were
has
the
and just
only
won't
thing
say.
anyone whispered
Either way,
about
the fact
in
King
marble
Charles's
corridors.
private estates
Have him removed
aren't
at
just
once.
historic
No
landmarks that
spokesperson
the
confirmed
family
it.
visits. The
No
timelines
official
and the
statement
receipts.
addressed it.
Hit
Yet the
subscribe to
rumor
Crown
traveled
Watch.
like fire
We break
through
this
dry
stuff down.
grass, leaving advisors scrambling behind locked doors and reporters circling the gates for answers.
Separating
the
rumor
center of
from
it stunned
reality becomes
everyone who
almost
heard it.
impossible.
Not a senior
The
royal,
speculation
not a
intensified
minister
to
of
avoid
state,
unnecessary
not even a
public
palace
embarrassment.
official.
A third,
whispers
far
pointed
more
instead
dramatically,
to
she
Adrian
returned to his
Voss,
life
the quiet,
after his
well-liked
separation from
stepson
Diana.
of Queen
Her exact
Isolde,
words,
after claims surfaced that the private hunting estate belonging to
through
King
London's
Aldric
media
had been
circles.
entered without
One
the
version
authorization
referred to
anyone
Camilla
believed
as
was required.
that wicked woman.
Within hours,
She also
a
told
disagreement
Charles she
over
could never
property had
forgive.
swelled into something much larger, a story that threatened to expose old, uncomfortable questions about privilege, trust,
Explains
and the
why
invisible
reports of
lines
possible
even the family's
irregularities,
closest
however
outsiders were
sensitive,
expected
would
never to cross.
This was a clear,
The quiet
ongoing
inside
decision that she
Ravensmere
made known
Palace
through her
did not
staff.
break with shouting. It broke with a single sentence, passed advisor to advisor faster than any
For
formal memo
William,
could travel.
duty consistently
Crown Prince Eamon,
outweighs
heir
personal
to the
comfort.
throne, had reportedly demanded an immediate and complete review after allegations surfaced that his
Intended to
father's
protect
private estate
confidentiality,
had been accessed
frequently
without
allows
proper
speculation
clearance.
to grow.
No transcript existed.
Charles first
no
met
official confirmed
Camilla
word
around
of it.
1970.
And yet the claim alone was enough to pull senior staff out of bed before dawn and set phones ringing across three
that's
separate
exactly
offices.
what happened here.
What made the rumor combustible
according
wasn't
to insider
simply that someone
accounts
near
that
the
have never
family
been
may have
independently
overstepped.
confirmed,
It was who that
several
someone
thick
was. Adrian Voss was not a working royal.
They had
He
passed
built his
through
own
security
quiet
checkpoints
reputation
during
as a
hours when the
respected
estate was
wildlife
officially
documentarian.
reaction.
Someone
She
who'd
watched three
always
separate
kept the
occasions
careful,
over the previous
deliberate
6
distance
months.
from the spotlight his stepmother's marriage had placed near him. That distance was exactly what made the accusation
attached
land
to the
so
electronic
hard.
barrier
If a man
logs
who'd spent years
matched the
staying
private
out of royal
administrative
affairs had
profile
somehow gained
written
unauthorized
in that sealed
access
letter
to the
Charles,
crown's most private
this history
ground,
provides
what did that
the
say about
context.
who was actually watching the gates? Outside the palace walls, none of this
That
had
under an
leaked yet.
internal reference code
Tourists
tied
photographed
directly
the
to
changing
communication.
of the guard. Cameras clicked at nothing in particular. And somewhere behind the stone facade, a single administrative folder was about to be pulled from a locked cabinet, the first thread in a knot no one yet understood. The heavy oak
To the
doors
royal
of the
family by
estate
marriage.
office
We're
slammed
using
shut,
royal
the
assets or
sound
granting
rolling down the
unauthorized
stone
access.
corridor
Warmth
of
didn't
Thornwood
last.
Lodge.
Philip
Outside, wind hammered the leaded windows. Inside, the air sat still and heavy. A thick folder hit the center of the table. Pages spilled loose, printed access logs,
the result of
handwritten
blurred
gate
lines during the
entries,
chaotic
time-stamped
transition of
security
authority
notes.
following the
Every
king's
eye in the
heirs,
room
and
fixed on the
suggested
top
both
sheet.
of them were
Look at the entry
responsible for their
dates,
troubled
said the
marriage.
estate administrator,
After that,
his
Diana
voice
distanced
low.
herself.
Now check the clearance registry for that same weekend. The mismatch was immediate. On 3 separate occasions across the past
Absolute
half-year,
transparency
private
and
vehicles
any
had passed
perception
through
that
restricted
private royal
checkpoints during
estates were
hours the
being
estate
treated. William
was
knew
officially
that the
closed.
public mood had
The
changed.
signatures
The
authorizing
modern
entry
public
belonged
demanded
to no
a
one on
man
the security
completely
roster.
unyielding on
The
matters of
access code traced
institutional
back to an
compliance.
administrative profile created months earlier, one tied, according to internal records, to correspondence
Monitoring the
routed through
situation
Adrian
through
Voss's
daily
private
briefings,
office.
reportedly
What had
tape
started as a
eventually
routine
came out.
discrepancy
Queen
was no
Victoria's
longer
journals were
routine.
made.
Within hours, quiet audits were opening at 3 separate royal properties. Filing cabinets were unlocked.
So heated during
Server
one late
logs were
afternoon
pulled.
briefing
2
that
years
an
of
advisor
correspondence were
reportedly
laid
gathered
out
his
across
papers one
long
of the
tables,
flagged dates,
cross-checked against
implying that
fuel
someone
receipts,
somewhere had known
catering
about the
invoices,
visits. But the
and
formal
maintenance
point,
requests.
for years she
The
hadn't been
deeper the
allowed
review went,
at
the
major
less it
royal
resembled
events,
a simple
so her
clerical
presence
error,
at that funeral
and the
was
palace
seen as a
itself
signal
began
of growing.
splitting into 2 camps. The traditionalists, who'd served under the old queen, saw the mismatched logs as a breach with no acceptable excuse. The modernizers
Working
argued it was
through an
nothing more
archived
than
database
blurred
of-
lines left over from a chaotic transition of power. One advisor reportedly walked out of a briefing
Then came the
mid-sentence,
discovery that
leaving the
shifted
legal
the
team
entire
to sit in
direction of the
silence.
review. An
Prince
analyst
Eamon, watching it all through daily briefing notes, made his position clear. There would be no
signed
quiet
not by an estate
reclassification
manager,
of this
but
as
originating
paperwork
from a
mistake.
high Charles
Every
at
signature
Westminster
would be
Abbey, the
verified.
first coronation
Every
and
date would
70
be
years
accounted
desk.
for.
The
regardless of
memorandum
whose name
outlined a
surfaced.
secondary
And
framework
then,
for estate
an
permissions.
analyst combing through an archived memo database found something that changed the shape of the entire inquiry.
And treat the place
a
like an
confidential
Airbnb.
internal directive,
There are access
18 months
logs,
old,
security
describing a second,
checkpoints,
unofficial
authorization
framework
codes,
for granting
and a whole
state
system
access.
designed to track
One that
exactly
directly
who entered.
contradicted the official rules everyone in the room had assumed were absolute. It didn't close the case.
Allegedly
It blew
expanded
it
into
because
something
it
much
suggested
larger
the
than anyone
conflict
expected.
wasn't the result
Here's where
of
it's the
one
third
man's overreach.
and the modern
It
monarchy.
was the result of
Now,
two competing
neither letter
systems
has
of
been
authority
rest of the
that had
file,
existed side
and that
by
single
side,
inconsistency
unspoken,
prompted
for
an
years.
internal
A
review
teacup
that
shattered
who
against
researched
the floor
the
of the
transition
private
of
sitting
power
room.
for his book, The
Porcelain
Making of a
scattering
King,
across the rug.
King Charles.
No one moved to clean it up. Prince Eamon stood by the window, jaw tight, hands locked behind his
Recorded
back.
over many months.
Across the table,
But one
two
small
legal advisors
administrative
sat
detail
frozen,
refused to
eyes
fit the.
fixed
This
on the
detail
open
came
binder
from
between
royal
them.
biographer
"Explain
Robert
to me,"
Hardman. No
Eamon
palace
said, quiet in
spokesperson
a way
repeated
that was
them.
somehow
No
louder than
transcript
shouting.
exists.
How a
But
second
King
directive
Charles has been
exists
sitting
that I
on
was
2
never
sealed
told
letters
about.
from his mother
The
for
senior
over 2
counsel
years now.
adjusted his glasses with a shaking hand. "Your Highness, it
The
appears to
name
have been
attached
drafted
to
during
the
the
allegation
transition period,
had stunned
filed
pretty
in a
much
private
everyone
registry
following the
that
story.
never reported to the main estate council." On the table lay 3 documents. The first, the original
Directly at
governance
Tom
charter,
Parker Bowles,
requiring
Queen
written
Camilla's
approval
son,
for any
a
non-royal
respected
use
food
of
writer
private
and broad
land.
minister.
The
It wasn't
second,
even a
the
palace
access
official.
logs tied to
The
Adrian
speculation
Voss's
pointed
associates. The third, the newly discovered memo, granting broad, loosely
to the
worded
royal family
permissions
had crossed
under a
the line.
clause about
It was
family
the specific
hospitality.
nature of the
If the second
accusation.
memo was legitimate, no rule had been broken. If it wasn't, every entry made under it was a trespass.
Movements
And someone
seemed
with real
routine.
authority had
Guest
quietly built a
arrivals
shadow
blended into
system
countless
that let it
legitimate
happen.
visits, dramatic or
Outside,
scandalous at
camera
first
crews
glance.
had begun
The
parking along
paperwork
the
looked
boulevard, and
ordinary.
speculation
Vehicle
was catching fire online. A rift between royal households, a secret inquiry, a family fracturing behind closed doors. Every unconfirmed report added pressure to the people
Senior
trapped
official
in
claimed
that
King
quiet
Charles
room.
had given
Late
verbal
that night,
approval
a
for
junior
informal
clerk
access
knocked
procedures
and
months.
entered,
This one
carrying a small
hasn't been opened or
ribbon-tied
acknowledged
dossier
in over 2
pulled from the
years tells
deepest
its own
archive
story.
vault beneath the old keep. He set it in front of Prince Eamon. The room went still. Inside was one final document.
Another advisor firmly
sealed,
denied this,
and about to
insisting the
answer a
king had
question
never
no one in the
authorized
room
anything.
had
The queen,
thought
who
to
never
ask.
did anything
King
without
Aldric
thinking
rose
carefully about
slowly
what
from
it
his
meant,
desk,
left her
turning to
son a
face the
final
darkening
departure from strict
courtyard through the
statutory
study window.
protocols, and
Behind
was
him,
entirely
the
unaware that
unsealed
the secondary
dossier lay
directive
open on the desk, its yellowed pages holding an answer nobody had expected. "We
The
cannot
issue went
undo
far beyond
old
administrative
assumptions,"
technicalities
the king said,
or family
voice low
harmony.
with fatigue.
It hit
"We
for
can only
William the
decide
absolute legal
tonight
transparency.
how we move forward." The findings, when they finally came, didn't support the sensational theories that had spread across every front page. There was no theft, no criminal conspiracy, no proof that Adrian Voss had ever acted in bad faith. What the investigation actually uncovered was quieter, and in its own way, far more damaging. For
Than the
over a
royal
decade,
household
2
itself.
systems of authority
As
had
the meeting
operated
prepared
side
to
by
adjourn
side
without
inside
a
the
clear
palace. Informal permission overriding formal protocol, so often that no one could say anymore where the real line was.
Them, the
It was a failure of
unsealed,
structure, not
ribbon-tied
of character.
dossier lay
And it had
open.
taken one misplaced log entry to force both systems into a collision no one had planned for. The personal cost was harder to calculate. Eamon pushed for full transparency, new rules, public and absolute, stripping away every informal privilege that had let this happen. Aldric, caught between duty and loyalty to the family he'd built, faced
claimed
a
that
choice
William's
with
reaction
no
was
clean
immediate
answer.
and
Reform
uncompromising.
immediately,
If
and the
procedures
public would
protecting
read
the
it as a
institution
confession.
he is expected
Wait,
one day
and
to
risk a
lead.
permanent,
Supporters argue
aching distance
that
from
this
his son.
reputation of
As the
King's
final
private
meeting
property
broke
had
up
been
near
ignored.
midnight,
He
the
allegedly
senior counsel
believed the
paused
matter
before
deserved
closing the last folder. A single handwritten note had slipped loose from the back cover, a private memorandum, older than the scandal itself, explaining that the ambiguity in estate authority had been intentional, written years earlier to protect a delicate arrangement nobody in the
faster
room
than any
had
official.
known existed.
By the
In an
time
instant,
staff were
the entire
arriving for
shape
their
of the
morning
story
shifts,
shifted.
the
This had never
conversation
been about theft or defiance or a stepson overstepping his place. It was the
But the
slow,
rumor moved anyway, the way
predictable
rumors do when
result of a
sentence that
decades-old compromise
supposedly came
nobody
from Prince
had
William
ever fully
himself.
closed the loop
Get him
on.
arrested
The
now.
mystery was solved. It offered no comfort at all. And as the lights in the estate office dimmed for
They're
the night,
interesting enough.
one detail
And within
surfaced
hours,
that no one in the room was ready for. The handwritten memo carried an official stamp proving it was only page 1 of a 2-part order. The second page, the one naming exactly who else had been granted quiet access to the Crown's private grounds, was missing from the
Palace
archive
hierarchy
entirely.
had
Someone had
authorized a
removed it.
completely parallel
48 hours
system of
before the
control.
audit began.
All non